Everything exactly as it sits. That raw chicken breast in your fridge, bite into it like an apple. Those dried beans in your pantry, crunch them between your teeth. Raw potatoes, uncooked rice, that ground beef crawling with bacteria you can't see. No seasoning, no heat, no preparation whatsoever. Just grab and eat, the way you'd consume a piece of fruit. Your stomach is already churning at the thought, isn't it? Here's what's genuinely disturbing about this mental experiment. You'd be hospitalized within hours. Salmonella E. Coli, parasites that would shut down your digestive system. Yet for roughly 2 million years, this wasn't a horrifying thought experiment for early humans. This was Tuesday. Every meal, every day, for a stretch of time so incomprehensibly long that the entirety of recorded human history represents just the last few minutes of it. No fire, no cooking, no understanding of food safety, just raw meat, raw plants, and whatever they could tear apart. Early humans evolved larger brains, spread across continents, and laid the foundation for everything we call civilization. How did they not just survive, but actually thrive on a diet that would kill us? The answer shatters everything you think you know about human evolution and reveals survival strategies so sophisticated they make modern nutrition science look primitive by comparison. The problem early humans faced wasn't just about finding food. It was about extracting enough calories from food that their bodies could barely digest to fuel the most energy-expensive organ in the animal kingdom, their rapidly growing brain. Here's the cruel mathematical reality they confronted daily. Raw food provides dramatically fewer accessible calories than cooked food. Modern studies show that raw sweet potatoes deliver 30% fewer digestible calories than cooked ones. Raw meat requires so much chewing energy that you can actually burn more calories breaking it down than you gain from eating it. Brain tissue consumes roughly 20% of your total daily energy budget. During this raw food period, the human brain was tripling in size. They were somehow fueling explosive brain growth while eating a diet that provided fewer available calories per meal than a modern human could survive on. This creates an evolutionary paradox that stumped researchers for decades. How do you grow a bigger brain while eating less digestible food? The solution involved a survival strategy so counterintuitive it took modern science decades to piece together. Early humans discovered something that would make any modern nutritionist uncomfortable. Dead things, the fresher the better, but not necessarily fresh by our standards. They became specialists in scavenging, but not random scavenging. Strategic scavenging focused on the highest calorie parts of carcasses that other predators typically couldn't access. Bone marrow and brain tissue. These organs are essentially pure fat, containing over 85% of their calories in forms that require minimal digestion. A single large bone contained thousands of calories that could sustain a family for days. But accessing it required technology. Archaeological sites from over 2 million years ago reveal stone tools specifically designed for cracking skulls and splitting bones. These weren't crude rocks. They were precision instruments engineered for extracting maximum nutrition from carcasses. But here's where the story takes its first dark turn. Scavenged meat often meant meat that had been sitting in the African sun for hours or even days. Early humans were regularly consuming carrion that would hospitalize any modern person within minutes. How did they survive this constant exposure to lethal food poisoning? The answer lies in gut anatomy that was fundamentally different from ours. Early humans maintained stomach acid levels closer to vultures than to modern humans. Their digestive systems were specifically adapted for processing partially decomposed meat, loaded with bacteria that would overwhelm our immune systems. They also had something we've lost through evolution. Genuinely robust gut microbiomes that could handle pathogen loads no modern human could survive. Plant foods presented an entirely different challenge. The most nutritionally valuable plants available to early humans were underground storage organs packed with starch. But raw starch is essentially indigestible. It passes through human digestive systems largely intact. This is where early humans developed what might be the most underrated technology in human history. Mechanical processing that functionally pre-digested food without fire. Archaeological evidence reveals sophisticated pounding tools, stone anvils, and processing techniques that broke down plant fibers and increased surface area for digestive enzymes. They were essentially chewing their food with rocks before putting it in their mouths. But the real breakthrough discovery happened when researchers started examining early human teeth under microscopes. Subscribe now to ancient survival strategies still influence your body today. The patterns of wear on fossilized teeth revealed something extraordinary. Early humans weren't just randomly eating tough foods. They were systematically consuming specific combinations that maximized nutritional extraction while minimizing digestive energy expenditure. They had figured out, through millions of years of trial and error, exactly which foods could be eaten raw, which required processing, and which combinations provided complete nutrition. This wasn't instinct. This was accumulated cultural knowledge, more sophisticated than most modern nutrition science. Consider the precision required. Too much raw plant matter, and they'd waste energy on ingestible fiber. Too much raw meat, and they'd overdose on protein while missing essential nutrients. They had to balance with no understanding of nutrition science while avoiding poisonous plants and deadly bacteria. The margin for error was zero. Get the dark combination wrong and your family dies of malnutrition or food poisoning. Here's what makes their success even more impossible. During this period of extreme nutritional constraints, early humans were simultaneously developing larger brains, more sophisticated tool technologies, and the cognitive capacity that would eventually lead to controlled fire use. They were literally thinking their way out of the raw food problem while still trapped inside it. This creates a fascinating evolutionary feedback loop that researchers call the expensive tissue hypothesis. As early humans got better at extracting calories from raw food, they could afford to maintain larger brains. Larger brains developed better food processing strategies. Better strategies freed up more calories for even larger brains. Eventually, this cycle led to the most transformative discovery in human history. Not fire itself, but the controlled use of fire for food processing. When cooking finally became widespread around 400,000 years ago, it didn't just add a new technology to existing survival strategies. It completely revolutionized human evolution in ways that are still shaping your body today. Cooking increased caloric yield from the same foods by up to 50%. It eliminated most foodborne pathogens instantly. It made previously inedible plant starches nutritionally accessible. Most importantly, it reduced the digestive energy required to process food, freeing up metabolic resources for even more brain growth. But here's the evolutionary consequence that connects directly to your daily life. As cooking made food easier to digest, human gut anatomy changed permanently. Our digestive systems shrunk. Our jaw muscles weakened. Our teeth became smaller and more closely spaced. Modern humans are physically incapable of surviving on the raw diet that sustained our ancestors for millions of years. We've evolved into a species that requires cooking to meet basic nutritional needs. Take away fire, and we'd starve surrounded by the same foods that kept early humans alive. This creates a sobering modern paradox. We've become completely dependent on a technology that's only existed for a fraction of human evolutionary history. Every cooked meal you eat represents your body's acknowledgement that you cannot survive the way your own ancestors did for 95% of human existence. Early humans didn't just survive without cooking. They mastered survival without cooking so completely that when fire became available, they were ready to use it to reshape the entire planet. The next time you turn on a stove, you're not just heating food, you're activating a technology that fundamentally altered human evolution and made modern civilization possible. The controlled use of fire for cooking didn't just change what we eat, it changed what we are. Every early human who figured out how to extract maximum calories from raw bone marrow, who discovered which roots could be pounded into digestible nutrition, who learned to distinguish between safe and dangerous carrion, was solving survival puzzles with their family's lives at stake. Get it wrong once, and that genetic line ended. The fact that you're here, reading this, means every single one of your ancestors solved the raw food survival challenge successfully for millions of consecutive generations, using nothing but observation, experimentation, and accumulated cultural wisdom passed down through the longest unbroken chain of survival knowledge in the history of life on Earth. That might be the most human story ever told. Not conquering nature, but learning to extract life from it, one careful bite at a time, until we finally discovered how to bend to our will and transform the world forever.